Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cloverly Academy. My name is Sophia Wardell, and today we have a very special guest, award-winning author, keynote speaker, and executive coach, Annie Meehan. Annie Meehan is an international keynote speaker, author of 10 books, certified DISC practitioner, and coach. She's passionate about helping people shine, whether it's on stage, through presentation skills, or in life by embracing resilience and connection. Thanks for joining us today, Annie.
Absolutely. Fun to be here.
Fun to have you here. So, first off, I want to talk about getting books ready for stages with you. So, Annie, how did you ensure that your book positioned you as an authority in your industry?
Yeah, I really thought about what do people need to know and how do people best learn? I have a learning difference. I like to say I'm dyslexic and ADHD. So I always think when I'm writing, write in a way that it feels more conversational than talking at. And what made me an expert is professional and personal experience in whatever I talked about.
Yeah, that makes great sense. Now, what strategies did you use to make your book appealing to event organizers and keynote planners?
Yeah. So I kind of have my formula is always give keys, or I used to call them steps, but I was like, people have too much to do. Let me call them keys. That seems a little easier to digest. So always use odd numbers. So I like 3, 5, 7, and 9. So I like 7 a lot. I'll do a lot of teaching with 7. So have 7, be specific. And then for each lesson that I'm teaching that makes it easier for an event player to buy me as a speaker is what is the topic I want to teach on? What's a story about the topic? What's the lesson? And then most importantly to me is always what's the application? So I can motivate and inspire, and that feels good. And it lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. But I really want to activate the audience to know they have takeaways they can apply to their business right away. They can apply to themselves personally. And so that's kind of my strategy is write in a way. I always say, write the book that gets you booked. And the way you do that is make sure there's more in there for them than about you.
Oh, I love that. And I love that structure because it's clear and concise. It can really help you build a good speech, a good talk. And like you said, it's really engaging for your audience. Now, what marketing tactics have helped you turn your book into a platform for speaking opportunities?
Yeah, I always think the more you speak, the more you speak. So one is get out there and speak. And if nobody's booking you, create your own events and get to started speaking. And I did that about 15 years ago. I spoke every other week for I think 8 events, so 16 weeks. And I just created my own event 15 years ago and invited people and invited other speakers to join me. And that turned into lots of leads, which turned into more leads, which turned into more corporate association and organizations. So speaking, one. Two, being consistent on social media. I'm not on everything. I know a lot of people love TikTok. It's good. It's not my thing. I don't know why. I'm more like, I love LinkedIn, I love YouTube, and I love Facebook. That's where my audience is. And I get hired by consistently sharing, teaching, and inspiring people on those 3 platforms. So social media, word of mouth. I'm never doing nothing. So if I have a slow week and I'm not traveling, I'll go to a networking group. And some people say, is that a waste of time? And I said, it depends. I have great books. I'm a coach and I want to speak, but every individual knows somebody that hires somebody, whether it's for training inside their company or goes to a conference or has an association they're part of. And sometimes people don't naturally think of it. So helping remind them, I can do this. I work with realtors. I work with bankers. I have a financial service background. I have a franchise background. I used to own gyms. Reminding people what I did. Nobody's thinking about us as much as we like to think they are. Nobody is. They're all busy. So being reminded people, whether it's social media, face-to-face at a coffee shop, or being on a stage or creating my own stage. I do lots of different things to market every day.
Well, I love that. And you live your brand and you've really harnessed the fact that your network is your net worth. You can get whatever out of whatever event you go to, how big or how small, you just make those connections. You never know what kind of connections you're making in your free time. And then also just the collaboration between other speakers, other authors. I think that's so powerful. And there's always just your network just expands like a spider web. It's great. Now, how, Annie, can an author, in your opinion, craft a compelling message that translates well from page to stage?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was just thinking about being an author. A lot of times people will tell me, I'll say, I just released a book, and they go, what are you going to do next? I'm like, oh my gosh, can I have a minute? So people always want to know what you're doing next. So how does it transfer? I think a lot of people want to write a book and think, oh, then I'll get speaking. But it doesn't really work like that. Actually, writing the book is kind of the easiest part, as hard as it is. It's the marketing and then using it as a tangible tool. One of my mentors years ago taught me don't print business cards anymore. So I have lots of different books in different sizes, but this is one of my little books. I don't know if people will see this or not, but it's teeny. So the next time you're out and someone goes, hey, do you have a card? No, I don't. But what I do have is a book. I'll do you one better. So using your book as a marketing material is a huge thing. Always having a handful of books with me, being willing to give them away. How do I get speaking from it is a lot of people think they have a great story, and I'm sure they do. But people don't pay you money to hear your story. People will listen to your story for free, but it's what you learn inside of your story that compels them to want to hire you to speak is that, oh, you have a great story, and these are the lessons you learned that can apply to my life. One of the greatest compliments I get, which probably gets me booked again and again with selling books and speaking engagements, is I felt like you told my story. So instead of them feeling like I'm talking about myself, they feel like I'm talking about my struggle in owning a gym or having two gyms and managing people. How did you deal with that? What did you do in the face of adversity and conflict? And so those tools, when you write, so there's tools for the audience, the listener, the reader, then they want to hear more. Always leave them wanting more, and always teach them something that's more about them than you, is what I would say is some of my strategies.
Right. And I imagine a lot of that includes writing with a target audience in mind when you're aiming to get booked for speaking engagements. How do you go about that?
Yeah. So my focus recently has been a lot of hospitality, focused to speak more into the hospitality and food service. So absolutely. I'm writing a series of 12 books that use food to teach life lessons because I know that the pineapple represents international hospitality. Well, that's our hotels and our resorts and our Airbnbs and our luxury locations, let alone food service. Using food as an analogy is such a great, it's a symbolic, so it's easy to remember, but also teaches. So yes, knowing who you want to book you. And at different times, it's been different people. I have a book that books me a lot for social services. I'm teaching about overcoming and breaking cycles. So that book specifically teaches me for that. Organizations that are going through change or mergers, my book, Choose to Soar, is about navigating disruption, different kinds of change than the social services. So this is more mergers, big companies going through where they might have some layoffs, so they might, and that energy is changing to very negative. When I started speaking about H3 cultures during COVID, it was about how do we bring hope, health, and happiness back after a COVID. So that was when we knew two parts to that. One was I knew people were having to go back to work and didn't really want to. So how do we merge that? So yes, not only an audience, but a messaging. What is it we want the reader, the listener to be looking for that they need help with in their organization?
Well, Annie, thank you so much. That was wonderful insight on getting booked for stages.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope your listeners get booked more after that.
So do we. Now, where can our listeners find and connect with you?
Yeah, the best place is either LinkedIn or YouTube. It's where I'm teaching, I'm inspiring, and I'm encouraging you on your journey as a speaker and a writer.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's interview with award-winning author, keynote speaker, and executive coach, Annie Meehan. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.